Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending where you are joining from. For those that may not know me, my name is Michael Boyo, one of the mentors, coaches at MB Consult. This is for me one way of giving back to the community. I've been doing mentoring coaching for a while now. I used to do it as a hobby. People said, Mike, you seem to be good at it. Why don't you give access to yourself from people out there? And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing what we are doing. MB Consults was set up to kind of help people, empower people, let's put it that way, to get to where they want to get to in their career. For somebody like me, I come with about 2.5 decades of post qualification cognitive work experience. My primary domain is within tech, but I can assure you that my network obviously traverses beyond tech. And that's the reason why, even though our primary domain will be tech related careers, that still doesn't mean that we can't help people in other domains. If we can't do it directly, we'll definitely find someone or show you the path to get to where you need to get to. So that's what we do here. So this is me with some of my other partners who are also seasoned professionals in their own careers. They join me here every Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. West African time, or my own time here is 12 p.m. Mountain time. And we just do this for 1 hour. And I come in here with a topic, we talk about it. But much more importantly for me is that by the time you join the community, which I'm just going to put this here, even right there. You can just scan the QR code. You can join our online community. All these videos, all these sessions we have on a weekly basis, the videos are uploaded on the YouTube channel, and you can also follow us on LinkedIn. I would appreciate if you can actually do all of these three if you have not done any of them. I know most of the people on this call have actually joined the community. They've subscribed to the YouTube channel and most likely followed us on LinkedIn. If you are there and you've not done any of these, please do that so that you can stay connected to the community. And like I do tell people, if you are in the WhatsApp group, that means you have direct access to me. And without me sounding my trumpet, I think that's something huge, that you have direct access to me. I'm not saying I'm going to help you solve all your problems, but just before this call, I just finished an interview prep for somebody that has an interview on Monday, and I had to call one of my proteges to to come and support me on that call, because that interview domain happened to be a niche market that my protege is kind of an expert in. That's the kind of access that you get, right? Even if I cannot directly solve your problem, hopefully I'll find someone in my own personal network to help, alleviate that problem. So that's what we are doing here. And it's not just me. All of my partners are also in different domains, consultants. Like I said last week, cumulatively, we come with over 75 years of cognitive post qualification work experience. That is huge in different domains within tech and beyond. That's what we are doing here at MB Consult. So that said, let's just get into what we are here for today. So we had started this last week. We are talking about how do you ace your interview strategies and preparation. So last week we talked about why confidence matters in interviews. We talked about that. I tell people that confidence is an outward expression of what you feel on the inside. People can only see the outside, they can't see the inside, right? So you hear people say things like wing it till you make it, right? So what you are doing is, you want to be able to articulate yourself properly and come across as somebody that knows what he's saying. And again, I would tell you, like I said, I just finished an interview prep that lasted about 1 hour and plus. And we asked a question to the candidate. Okay, tell us about XYZ. And she said, you know what, I've actually not worked on this particular um, domain. However, I've worked on something similar. And and my protege said, so she explained, and then I asked my protege, what do you think with that response? And my protege said, he said, I wouldn't, if I'm the interviewer and you answer a question that is key on the JD, and you are saying actually you've not worked on that particular capability, and you started saying something else, I said that for me is a no-no. That because there will be other candidates that would have worked on that particular capability. So where does that leave you? And she said you need to figure out what to do in order to at least be able to speak to that particular capability. You don't have to be an expert, but that you say you don't know or you've not done it, that's not a valid response. And I said, I'm glad I didn't say that. That's my protege. Because about a year and a half ago, I remember exactly where I was. I was in Regina when she was doing her interviews for a similar role with this with similar domain. And that's why I called her. I said, this is just, it just reminds me of our experience. 5-stage interview. I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening today. In my career, I've never done beyond 2 stages. I don't know what other people are doing in organization, and that's not my business. But this was 5 stages to get a Salesforce role. And I was with her every stage of the way. And I just told the candidate, I said, yes, we have a few days, so you can still do something. And we worked on a strategy, to be able to get her to where she needs to be before the interview next week. Now, those are the kind of things that we are talking about here at MB Consult, the kind of resources, the kind of access to expert knowledge that you get when you collaborate or you come and, take one of our offerings or services. So coming back to confidence, again, like I said, even if you don't know something, don't start off with, I don't know. That's not a valid response. You can say something like, in as much as, okay, so let's say you ask me a question and I absolutely don't know anything about that question. Now, the first thing I will be asking you is that, as in, I'll be asking me, why did I even apply for this role? If there's actually something in the job description that I know absolutely nothing about. Now, when I saw the job description for the first time, most likely, hopefully, I should be able to check the box on at least about 75 to 80%. So we are using the Pareto rule, right? 80-20. Now, the remaining 20% that at the time I saw the JD, I knew nothing about, the first thing I'm going to do, so that's my gap analysis done there, check. What do I need to do? I need to now go and figure out how am I going to close that gap? Because you look at it, flip it the other way around. I'm the interviewer. Are you going to allow me to pay you 80% of the salary? Would you take that? The answer is as good as your answer is as good as mine, right? Nobody is going to take 80%. So then why do you want to come into that interview with you having ignorance hanging on your head? That's a big no-no, right? You need to at least have a theoretical knowledge of whatever is on that JD. There's knowledge is a dime a dozen. If it's ChatGPT, YouTube, Google, do whatever you need to do, right? And that's the way it should be. So confidence is very key. Now, next, pre-interview confidence building techniques. So over here, we are saying, okay, what are the things you do before the interview? So we talked about you actually rehearsing possible interview questions with responses. If told us last week how she stands in the front of the mirror to answer questions back to herself, just to make sure that she could articulate herself well. I was in a demo yesterday where people were presenting their work, and one of the ladies who ended up winning the demo competition actually started off and she kind of just got stuck in the first few minutes. She couldn't articulate her thoughts. And everybody was like, yeah, it happens to the best of us. Okay, that's great, but you don't want that to happen to you, right? Now, she was able to gather her thoughts and she did a pretty good job at the end of the day. But what we are saying is that they say practice makes perfect. But I add a little bit onto that. Good practice makes perfect, not just practice. Good practice makes perfect, right? So you need to do those things that will help you when you get into the interview, even still talking about learning about the organization. I ask people questions, very basic, right? We talk about, okay, why this company? So if I'm interviewing you and I'm part of ABC company, why do you want to work for ABC? I don't expect you to be telling me everything every other person will tell me, which is in the about us of ABC company. No. What is ABC all about? What is their strategic roadmap for the next 3 to 5 years? What is ABC senior management talking about what they will be doing in the market? How are they leaders in their industry? I want to know. You ask me how. Go on YouTube, type ABC CEO. What is he saying? ABC Senior Vice President. What is she saying? ABC corporate, affairs director, what is he saying? You want to know. What is ABC in terms of their financial reporting? What are they doing? You want to be able to know. Are they doing well financially? Are they looking at certain mergers in the horizon? Did they just merge or acquire another organization? You want to know, right? Again, depending on who you are meeting with. Are you meeting with just the hiring manager? You want to know his profile. Go on LinkedIn, search him out, search her out. Are you interviewing with someone who is technical or non-technical? That will impact how you prepare for that interview, right? And then we're talking about preparing for common interview questions. And last week, I was able to play us an excerpt from one of our interview prep videos where we showcased a lady. I'll ask her the question, very simple question. Tell me about yourself. I kid you not, she spent almost 4 minutes answering that question. And I asked people here, how long, what do you think? And everybody said it was too long. So it's not just me, right? And I asked other people that were on the interview prep, if he was there, who is one of our mentors. Philip was there, who is also one of our mentors. And exactly the same thing they said. Why will you spend 4 minutes telling me about yourself? Who are you? Are you Donald Trump? Right? It's too long. I don't care what you are saying. 90 minutes, max 120 seconds. Tell me about yourself, not about the story of your life, not all the projects you've done under the sun. No, tell me about yourself. You are not a project. You are a human being. So tell me about yourself. It should start from when you graduated from school, very quickly, key highlights, milestones, achievements, up to where you are right now. Tell me about yourself. It's pretty simple. But I figured that it's not as simple as people make it look like. I was interviewing a lady some time ago. Tell me about yourself. She froze. Philip was on that call, and I just laughed. And Philip knows that when I laugh, that's my antidote for anger, because I have to be professional on those interview preps. But Philip already knows me now. If you answer a question and I laugh, that's a very bad sign, because that just means that I don't like what you said. But I can't yell at you, right? I need to be professional. So I just laugh. And Philip said, Mike, why did you laugh? I said, what do you want me to do? Tell me about yourself, and you froze. You can't even say a word. And I said, Philip, what are we doing here? And then Philip now had to say, okay, Mike, let me take care of this. And Philip asked that the question, can you at least walk us through your resume? At least it's your resume. Walk us through your resume. And then the girl started talking. And then, she started getting into it. And I said, I don't know. And another time I asked the lady, I said, okay, why do you want to work for company XYZ? She said, she just couldn't say anything. And I said, are you freaking kidding me right now? You don't even know why you want to work for an organization. You don't even understand what their core values are. You don't even know what they stand for. So why exactly do you want to work with them? You don't know? I said, if I were interviewing you, that's the end of that interview. Because what it means is that if you don't value us, why should we value you? It's simple. It's very simple. This is the person that's going to cut in you a paycheck bi-weekly, monthly, whatever the frequency is. And you can't even tell them why you value them. Okay. So that was last week. So let's get into this week. So we ended up last week with talking about how do we answer behavioral questions using the STAR method. I know a lot of us are familiar with the STAR method. And what I want to do here today is I want it to become a little bit interactive and see what you will do, right, if you were to answer a behavioral question. So what do we mean by behavioral question? A behavioral question will assess how you handle work situations. So it's not a what is question. It's not a defined question. It is a question that needs you to kind of walk us through a scenario, something that actually happened. And if it never happened, but you can walk us through a scenario and be able to articulate yourself, properly as you go through that scenario. So I'm going to give an example of a question here, and I want to get maybe 1 or 2 people to respond to the question so that we can make this, let's bring it to life. So can somebody here give me an example of a time when you had to meet a tight deadline in the course of your work? I made the question to be very, very simple so that anybody on the call can answer. So I want someone raise up your hand if you are willing to respond. How would you answer this question? Give me an example of a time when you had to meet a tight deadline in the course of work. Please raise up your hand if you want to respond. Hello. Don't let me start calling names. So, anyone? Hmm. Oh, wow. I wish if you people could erase your name from the board here, you would erase your name, right? So who am I going to call now? Give us an example of a time when you had to meet a tight deadline. Again, can somebody raise up their hand outside of the mentors? Can someone raise up their hand and respond? Okay, so I'm going to call names now. Okay, Lillian, you bailed them out, right? Okay, thank you.
Okay. A time when I had to work with a tight deadline was when we were working on a project um, implementing Experience Cloud for building an order management portal using Experience Cloud and Salesforce. So I was responsible for gathering the requirements from the client. So I needed to have the requirements at a certain date so that the project would move on without any hindrances. So the issue that I had was from the side of the customer, the people I was working with, they had they had other priorities besides gathering the requirements. So I had to find ways to encourage them to help us with those requirements because essentially I couldn't be the one to write them down for them in case I missed something. They had to at least give us something, give us a skeleton of something that we had to work with. So I had to communicate with the people involved, with the stakeholders. I had to communicate with them and essentially let them know the importance of the process and encourage them to prioritize it, as well as let me know how I could be of any assistance for us to accomplish that. I hope I answered the question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lillian. So, so let's try and dissect what you just said. So, Shewa, I will come to you in a minute. Thank you. So you told us the problem, right? Which is good. You were able to also highlight to us who and who were directly that will be directly impacted, either directly or indirectly impacted by what that problem was. And then you went ahead to tell us what you did to solve the problem, right? But something else was missing. What was the value add of what you did? As in, so you did it, but what benefit did it have on the people that were going to be impacted? That was I would say that that could have been communicated a bit clearer because I didn't hear that in clear terms. Am I am I with you, Lillian?
Yes, yes. Um,
Okay, so
yeah,
that's fine.
I
So
get
let's
it.
yeah. Okay, we'll come back again. Let's get to Luashion. So Luashion has the cheat sheet now. Luashion, go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Um, this happened when I was summoned. The department was summoned that we needed to deploy and train our channel partners. We had 100 channel partners. We had actually completed a software whereby we actually gave like a week for us to train our channel partners before they start using it. So the director came and said, no, I want this done in the next 2 days. We weren't prepared for it. So, and it was assigned to me that I had to, pick up the task. So what I did was, it was really a tight one for me. And what I did was that immediately I called for a meeting with different stakeholders. We had different trainers across the country, like 4 regions. So I quickly summoned a meeting. I called them and I told them what the situation is and the need for us to quickly, address this, for us to be able to, for our partner to start using this software, and this in turns, would result to revenue generation. So they got to understand what the problem was, and we keyed in. So we strategized, and we had to divide the 100 channel partners into 4 different batches. Ordinarily, it should have taken like 10 different batches, but we had to, I made sure that we put everybody into 4 different batches. We communicated to the channel partners. We got their buy-in by informing them of the need for us to have this done quickly. And we started the training. The training was concluded in 2 days. Feedback was provided by channel partners, and they were all happy about it. At the end of the day, the channel partners on the 3rd day started using this software. Not all of them, but we had a pilot. Like 40 of them started using it, and we started seeing money coming into the company, and they were so happy that, oh, this software can actually start working almost immediately. So that was the toughest time I had, and with a little timeline for me to achieve it. And that was what I did. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oluwaseun. So let's have the audience dissect what Seun just told us. Can we have somebody? Anyone? Let's say you were the interviewer and Seun responded. What would be your comments back to Seun? Yeah, Ade, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Now, disclaimer: I'm not a pro. I'll just listen. Respond
But
as
you know a lot of pros, right? You're very
yes.
close to pros, right? Okay.
Yes. So this response is to the my feedback is to the response, not necessarily the responder. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
Oluwaseun.
yeah.
So for me, listening, it was long. To be honest, I know you didn't spend more than maybe 3.5 minutes. I, I like how you opened. I liked how it was open. Like, oh, okay, there was a people were summoned, but that caught my attention. But in explaining it, I lost the meat because I was looking for, okay, what happened immediately. But I think this is a trap we all fall into when trying to explain a situation. We start storytelling as opposed to going straight to the point. So midway, I don't want to say lost interest, but I couldn't get the meat of the conversation, of the event, of what happened. And as such, I just listened on without really trying to look for, the S, the T, the A, and the R. So my feedback is just go straight to the point and let it fly. Thank you.
Okay. So, Ade, thank you. So, my calling someone to respond, Philip, just hold on. My calling someone to respond was a trap in itself. So, since you responded, now you give us your own example.
I know you'll say that, right?
And I know you are prepared, right? So,
No, I'm not
and I'm
prepared.
not and I'm not going to laugh. Okay.
No, you're free to laugh, to be honest. And that was why I said, things happen.
Yeah.
Um, So let me give it a shot. Give me an example of time when you had to meet a tight deadline. Thank you very much for that question. Deadlines occur in projects, and most of the time we'll all have to rise to occasion. I remember a very recent one that happened on a project where I was involved with a team. I was a project lead on a team where we had to convert data from an old system, that's electronic medical record, on an old system to a new one. And that's because we changed ownership of the organization. Now, the challenge we had was that the technology used by the old electronic medical system was archaic, and as such, we had to make sure our systems were at par, updated. So the first thing I did was to look for technicians on the as part of our stakeholders for the new EMR, we call it, to see how they can revamp our system in readiness for the new electronic health method. Now, one of the challenges, of course, is knowledge gap. So I had to make sure that there was training among my team members and follow through with the technician working on the EMR. In the long run, the deadline we had a 2-week turnaround because we had to make sure that patients were being seen immediately by doctors. And according to the plan I made, I did a 1.5 plan just to give buffers. I'm glad to tell you that even though it was stressful, it was tough, the technicians were able to come around. We had half a week to test what was done to upgrade the EMR to the new one. And we were able to roll out on the dot of the 2 weeks. Now, it made our doctors happy. Our staff were trained alongside, and they were able to seamlessly work on the new electronic medical record. So it saved us time in treating patients and made sure we used extant technology to deliver. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. So thank you so much, Ade. I'm going to come back. No, but thank you. And thank you for not disappointing, right? This you're able to respond. So I know that Philip, you had wanted to time in. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Sean, you did a great job. One thing I will commend you is that the confidence. I like the confidence. But when Ade came in through and made that statement, I was thinking I was the only person, right? Because when you started, yes, I listened, but midway, I couldn't really say, okay, you lost me. So it's about interest and telling the story and keep it short, which is important. But like I said, the confidence is there. So if I'm an interviewer, I'm like, oh, okay. Then I'll now try with another question that I still want something similar, kind of what I want to hear. I said, okay, let me give him one more try and see if I can get what I really want from this guy. So that's where I'm trying to go to that. Keep it short, keep it simple, have your story. But especially when you now said your boss summoned you or you were trying to, you don't want to put in a lot of people, but you want to pass that message as it relates to the core problem. So that's just my own input. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you so much, Philip.
Thank you.
And yeah, so let's come back. Anyone else wants to add to any response? Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, so again, there's no right or wrong, right? So let's again go back to Lillian. So Lillian was spot on. Time taking was relatively okay. I understood what she was saying. So there's the problem, which is the situation, what she needed to do, which is the task, what she did, which is the action. But what was missing, like I said, so she did STA. I didn't hear the R. That was missing. Okay, that's not about what Lillian's response. Now, Shane's response had all of it. The R was actually very specific. Like, we were able to get the channels up and running, even though we didn't get all of them. So he went through the S, the T, the A, the R, but it's like as if you had S dash dash dash, C dash dash dash, A dash dash dash, and then the R. It was too long. You lost the audience, right? Now, then for Ade, it's as if Ade, because she had listened to both, she took best of both worlds. So she took the timing from Lillian and took the meat of it from Sheung, and she kind of stood in the middle. So timing was good and the content was in there. Now, what is the greatest takeaway here? For me, the takeaway is understand what the STAR actually is, just beyond the definition. because that helps you. And this is the way I say it. S, they will say, is the situation, right? That's the problem statement. What is the problem? So we needed to launch 100 channels. Instead of in 2 weeks, we needed to launch in 2 days. My task was to ensure that we could still be in line with the newly proposed timeline. That's the task. Done. In order to achieve that, I had to engage with multiple stakeholders responsible for those channels, and I batched them into groups of 4. And we went ahead to do as agreed during a previously conducted brainstorming session. Done. R. And as a result of this, after the 2 days, we were able to get 60% of the channels operationally functional, while the rest were being brought online within the rest of the week. You are done. Less than 90 seconds. Kim, does that make sense? Hello, you're on mute.
Yes, it makes sense.
I'm
Spot
saying the
on.
same thing you've said in less
Yes.
than half the time.
Yes.
And you would want to keep listening to me, right? I'm not saying more than enough that you are tired. By the time I'm done, you are literally like, oh, is he finished? Is he done? Yes, that's the way you want to be in an interview. If someone has a follow-up question, let them ask. And because you didn't say a lot, you still have a lot to say as well. But when you say a lot and you are asked the next question, what happens? You swallow spit because you don't have
Yes.
anything else to say.
To say.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So let's look at the example I have here. So what is STAR, right? Again, describe the context. That's situation. Task. Explain your responsibility. So you always want to use I. In an interview, you need to personalize it. This is not a group session. You're not in a group demo. It is I. Don't say we. Then nobody is called we. It's not somebody's name. We is only a word in French, meaning yes. In English, it's not somebody's name. Don't say we. No. I did. I collaborated. I led. I documented. It has to be I, right? Action. What did you do? Details of the steps you took, not we. I summoned, not we gathered. No, there's nothing like that, right? Then the result, you need to share the outcome. Without the outcome, I'm now asking the question, why did you even go ahead and do what you did? If there's no outcome, that means there were no KPIs. That means there were no objectives. Then how do you measure success? Does that make sense? Okay, so let's look at our own question here. Now, what's the situation? In my previous role as a marketing coordinator, I was responsible for organizing a product launch event. 1 week before the event, we discovered that the promotional materials, including banners and brochures, had errors and needed to be reprinted. That's the statement, the problem statement, as it were. What were you responsible to do? Again, it has to be I. Everything is personalized. I had to ensure that the corrected materials were printed and delivered in time for the event while staying within budget and maintaining quality. So this is not the time to shoot over the budget. You still have budget project constraints, which in this case is budget. We don't have unlimited budgets. I don't think there's any project that has unlimited budget, unlimited time, and unlimited scope. Those are the 3 pillars of project management, right? So you're working within constraints. What did you do? I quickly contacted the printing vendor to explain the urgency and negotiated expedited printing services. I also reviewed all the materials thoroughly. Perhaps this was the gap that wasn't done before, with the team to ensure there were no additional errors. To save time, I arranged for the materials to be shipped directly to the venue instead of our office. That's the action. That's what you did. And what was the outcome? The corrected materials were delivered a day before the event. Everything was set up on time. The product launch was a success. Now, matrix, right? We want to have a successful product launch. Attended by over 200 people, and it generated 15% increase in sales inquiries within the first 1 week. That is the outcome. Everything we have done was because we needed to generate leads. that hopefully will convert into sales. If the cash register is not ringing, everybody will soon go home. Does that make sense? Questions, comments, feedback? Hello? Are people afraid to talk now? Okay. Thank you, Lillian. All right, let's keep it going. Now, strategies for answering tough questions. Take a moment to think before answering. A professional friend once told me he always has a glass of water with him anytime he's attending interviews. What does he do with the glass of water? It's because of times like this. He would take the cup and sip water. That buys him like about 5 to 10 seconds while he's thinking about what he needs to say. Think before answering. If you didn't hear the question properly, there's no harm in asking, sorry, can you repeat the question? That's okay. Even when you heard it properly, if you need to buy time to process, you can ask for the interviewer to repeat the question. As long as you don't do that all the time, it just shows that you're not listening, right? So you can think before answering. Does anybody want to give us a scenario whereby you didn't think before answering and it backfired big time? Anyone? Yes, John. Thank you.
It's a very funny one. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Good evening, everyone from here.
Yeah, good evening.
So an experience I had was a question within my scope, right? But in terms of the thinking, I was more of trying to impress the interviewer than actually just based on what you've actually been saying, sticking to time.
Yeah.
So I over explain,
Okay.
and I was kind of lucky that I got a feedback from the HR later. If they actually gave me an offer eventually, but the person was like, John, I heard that you over explained something, and we know that everybody cannot know everything, but we want to be able to identify your key strengths so that we will know where we can actually designate, where we ask you to work, right? And for me, while I thought I was killing it, the guys were confused because the scope of what I was saying was a kind of a localization to the African space, not global. So the guys are like, why will you even be trying to do all those? But me, in my mind, I'm killing it. But the guys were like, guys, guy, what are you saying? So just to portray what you say, it's good to think, right? And stick to the question. You're not coming there to impress anybody. You are there to answer the question, right? So that was one thing. And I was glad I actually got that feedback. Not everybody gets such feedback. So I learned from that going forward.
No,
Thank you.
thank you so much, John. And like you said, not most people don't even give feedback. There are too many candidates, right? So I'm glad you got that feedback. I used to get that feedback at work, so not interview at work. It's there when I do my performance appraisal, and the feedback I used to get, which was a bit of, I still couldn't really figure it. Not that I can't figure it out, but it came across as something like Mike is overtly passionate about his work. And it was not a positive feedback. And I'm like, why wouldn't that be a positive feedback? And so by the time I dug into it, I got to understand that what they said was that I was so much embedded in my work that anytime I'm given the opportunity to talk about it, it's like as if I talk forever. And I'm like, why is that negative? Not everybody has the time to listen to you, Mike. You need to keep it short and simple and still communicate the context. And I said, okay, good point. I'll take it away, right? So you need to think and stay on point, right? Stay on point. The person you are talking to is not stupid as well. And you know how it is, right? When the interviewer is not even saying anything, he's just looking at you. That's even worse, right? No body language, just straight face, You don't even know whether you are doing okay or you're not doing okay. Then that's just a disaster waiting to happen, right? Next, be honest and constructive in challenging scenarios. What are we saying here? What could be a challenging scenario during an interview? Let me ask. What can be a challenging scenario for you during an interview? Yes, please, Ade.
Maybe if they want me to go a little bit more technical than I am experienced in or prepared for, and I want to fill up the gaps.
You want to close the gaps on the fly.
Yes,
You want
sir.
to think on your feet, right? Okay, good. We'll come back to you. Sheung, thank
When
you.
they ask a question that I have no idea of,
So how would you remain honest and constructive?
it's a challenge.
That's a bus stop.
Yeah, I just had that happen in the last interview prep, like I told you guys, right? First question out of the park. Tell us about XYZ. And the candidate said, actually, I've not worked on XYZ. And I'm like, ah. So I'm not saying you should lie. I'm only saying you should be better prepared. Now, yes, we can have scenarios whereby you know absolutely nothing about the question you are asked. Yeah. So let's go there. What do you do when that happens? So let's talk. What do you do? Yeah.
I'll say what I did in one example, and what I did was I explained upfront. I think, yeah, if I remember so well, I said I hadn't done that. However, I gave them a similar tool or approach I had utilized, which sort of answered what the same tool would have done. So I spoke around it, but I didn't focus on my either
Yeah.
weakness
That's on
or
point.
inexperience. Yes.
That's on the money there. That's very much on the money. And that's why, even so, you don't just start it off like saying, I don't know. You could say that. So again, I find it difficult that if you are prepared for an interview, somebody will ask you a question that is outside the JD. If it's completely outside the JD, then is that person's bad, right? It's either deliberate, intentional, or they just want to size you up. But if it's within the JD and you literally don't know anything about it, then I'm sorry, it's your fault. That's your fault. And those are part of the things we do here when we prepare people for interviews. We need to touch on every element that is mentioned in the JD. One of the things I asked right at the very beginning, can you score yourself at least 8/10 in terms of your familiarity with this JD so that we can approach it with the Pareto principle, right? We understand, okay, where's the 20%? That's the gap. How do we close this gap? Can you close it yourself between now and the interview date? Yes or no? If it's more of a no, then I would at least encourage and inform on how you can get theoretical, right? Not expert knowledge between now and the interview. So if that now comes up, then you can actually talk about it, not even just the way Ade said. So the way Ade said is what we call the diverging approach. Like you don't know how to use Jira, but you've used Asana. You don't know how to use SharePoint, but you've used Confluence. That's okay. But for us to now say, what document repository have you used? And you say, what do you mean by document repository? You're like, and I'm like, what do you think? And you are just completely clueless. And the job is supposed to be a business analyst to implement a new document repository, maybe Microsoft Documentum or whatever, SharePoint, Confluence, whatever. You can't do that. That's a big no-no. Is that making sense? So that's why we are talking about you can be honest, but again, you have to be constructive. That's what Ade just did. You can't be honest and say full stop. Oh, I've never used it. I don't want to lie. No, there's nothing like that. That's not good enough. Okay? Thank you. Next, focus on skills developed from difficult experiences. I usually tell people you need to have scenarios in your back pocket, projects that you've worked on that you can speak to even if you are woken out of sleep at 3 a.m. And I ask you, tell me about a time where you worked on XYZ capability. You should be able to tell me, right? Avoid oversharing negative details or blaming others. People tend to do this. Oh, in my previous work, my manager was. We don't care about your relationship with your manager. And please don't throw anything you've done in the past, be it animate or inanimate. Don't throw anything under the bus. Why are you leaving your current company? It's because they don't train people. No, don't do that. Why are you leaving your current job? They don't pay well. Please don't do that. Always speak well. Be constructive about how you talk about your current role, your previous role. Why are you leaving? No, speak very well. You know why? You know why you can't speak ill of them? Because this organization you're about to enter, they will soon also become what? Your past role. And they are just good. What they are hearing is that's the same way you're going to talk about them. So please don't talk about anybody, your manager, your colleague. Don't stick to the problem, the issue, not the person, not the organization. Does that make sense? Okay. Redirect focus to skills and positive outcomes. So even if you are talking about a problem, how were you able to turn that problem around by what you did? That's the way you are showing that you can add value. You can bring value. That you are a value add to the organization. You are not just a number on payroll. But people should be glad to say that. Do you know how it is that at times you are on projects and you are asking, who is the developer on this project? And they mention somebody's name and you just keep quiet. Oh my God, we're in trouble. Or they mention somebody's name and everybody's excited. Wow, thank God. It's John who is going to be the developer. Right? That's the way you want to be. That people will be excited when they say, is Shane on the project? Oh no, Shane is not on the project. Oh wow. I wish Shane was on this project. Shane is a fantastic BA. Right? That's the way you want people to be able to talk about you on a project. And for you, you want to focus on those skills and how you can drive positive outcomes. And then even when it comes on the interview as well, even if when they ask you, okay, there's always this question that they say that, what will you consider as a weakness? A lot of people say a lot of things that actually shoot them in the leg. And it's all in the spirit of them wanting to be honest. But you can turn a weakness into a strength. It's a weakness to you, but there are ways that in the overarching scheme of things, you can turn it into a strength because one, you have acknowledged it, two, you are working on it, and three, you are getting better to work against it, right? So that's how you are. It's a weakness, yes, but you should be able to tell us how you are working on it and how you are turning it around to now become a strength. Okay. Non-verbal cues and body language. Maintain eye contact to show attentiveness. Now, this is a tricky one. You know that in some cultures, especially in Asia, maintaining eye contact is actually a sign of utter rudeness or disrespect. It's cultural. They don't maintain eye contact, especially when you're talking to somebody who is senior, higher in the hierarchy, superior, and all of that. But I guess, in this side of the hemisphere, as in Europe, North America, Africa, maybe a bit of few places in Africa as well, but I would say mostly Europe, North America. I don't think that's an issue, right? So you need to you can't be in an interview and you're looking down. Again, for those that know about body language. Looking down is a sign of lack of confidence. It's a sign of lack of knowledge or lack of um, how do I put it now? It's like as if you are saying that you are not worthy of what is being discussed or what is being conversed about. So you want to maintain eye contact. Make sure you are looking the interviewer in the face. Yes, please.
Okay, so this can apply when the person is physically available. What about, most times now, the interviews are conducted online. How is this going to play out?
Yeah, so more often than not as well, the interviews are conducted online but with video on. So there's still some level of physicality. So I was talking about different stages of interview here in Canada. That the very first stage most likely is with a recruiter and HR rep that could be via phone. It could actually also even be a video call, either using Teams video, whatever you want to call it, Google Meet, whatever. So both of you will be on video. Now, when it comes to especially the hiring manager and other stages down the line, is usually with video on. Your video has to be on. So you look straight into the camera to exhibit or exude confidence. You have to look straight into the camera. So your camera will be on, Shion.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have to maintain eye contact. Use open body language. Avoid crossing arms. Now, I'm not a body language expert, right? But there are certain body languages that does not exude confidence. When you start crossing your arms, right? Or you start not like tweaking your fingers, right? Or some of us, what happens? Only that nobody will see your leg. Some people are actually tapping the floor with their leg. It's a sign of anxiety. Some people even sweat. Again, sign of anxiety. So body language, you need to be calm. Some people you may need to do some meditation. In fact, I was there, somebody was on a call. I was on a call yesterday, like I said, that demo, people demoing what they've done. And one of the professionals, the mentor, said that he actually goes on a walk 30 minutes before every interview. He said just to clear his head. And I'm like, that's when I'm trying to like make sure that I have everything in place. He says he goes for a walk. That's one way for him to clear his head. And that's okay, right? So, but what we are saying is that you want to stay calm. You don't want to, usually people gesticulate. And I think this is something that is particular to we Africans. I do it too. But what I usually do when I'm in an interview, because it's online, right? I don't think I've gone for an in-person interview in the last maybe 7 years. Yeah, that was the last time I went for an in-person interview. Now, so my hands would most likely be on my desk because one of my hand is holding the mouse. If, for example, I'm using double screen and I want to open a document, whatever. So my hands are, I make sure my hands are fixed. They are not moving, right? It's difficult, but stay calm. All they need to do is to see your face and hear what you are saying. The rest of your body parts really doesn't matter much. So the more they are stable and in a very calm position, the better for you. The culprit is usually the hands. The hands are usually the culprit. Your hand is going all over the place. They are trying to explain, and it's like as if you are showing somebody direction to go to your village, right? No, we don't do that. So, no crossing of arms, no gesticulation going all and except if somebody is saying describe something. That is something completely different. Nod occasionally to show understanding. Now, nod. When I mean nod, I mean vertical nod, up, down, not sideways. Sideways is not nod. Though. Sideways is either you are saying no, and the person is like wondering, are you saying no to what I'm saying, or are you saying you don't agree? That would bring a lot of second guessing. So when I'm saying nodding, it's not nodding to the side, left and right. It's nodding up and down for affirmation. So either you are being asked something, do you understand? You nod. If you don't, say no. Don't shake your head. Now, you could also be acknowledging what somebody is saying to you, and you are nodding in acknowledgement that you understand. If you don't understand, please verbalize it. I don't understand. Because they may not be following you as accurately with your body language. So you always want to communicate. Don't use non-verbal as your means for critical communication. If you understand, you can nod. If you don't, please verbalize it. Does that make sense? Smile genuinely and engage with the interviewer. What do we mean by this? Let me hear from you folks. What do we mean by this? Hello? Nobody's answering me now. I like the engage with the interviewer, right? Engage with the interviewer means that you do not want to bore them. You don't want to lose them. You want to stay engaged. You want them to also stay engaged. So you do less with more. Yes, you have a lot to say. Dish them out in piecemeals. When there's something to say it. If it's a question that plays into your, your good side, nail it. That's okay. But if it's not something that plays to your good side, instead of rambling, wrap it up quickly and get on with it. Except they continue to ask follow-up questions that you have to respond to. Engage with the interviewer at times, icebreakers. There was a time that I had a protege that the interviewer was somebody who had just recently lost his mom. And that information was on LinkedIn because he wrote about it. And then while we were doing the interview prep, because I had read about it, because I also prep for the whoever is you are interviewing with. And I just asked my mentee, and I said, sorry to ask this question. Are your parents still alive? And she said, why do I ask? I said, I need to know. It will determine the question I ask after this. She now said, no, they are not both alive. I said, good. She said, what do I mean? I said, because your interviewer also recently lost his mom. I said, so do you mind in the interview connect with him on that level when you start the interview? I said, it's not personal anymore. It's on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a public domain. So you can't say, oh, that's personal. No, it's no more personal when you put it on LinkedIn. And she did. And they talked about it. So you are engaging the interviewer. I mean, that's on a personal front. Then you can also do the same on a professional front. Okay? Non-verbal cues reinforce confidence and interest, but I would say with caution, be careful how you use non-verbal cues because they can easily be misconstrued, misunderstood, misrepresented because they are non-verbal, right? Nobody's explaining. Any comments on that? Yeah, Olu.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to make a comment on the smile genuinely and engage with the interviewer. That uh, Sharing my own experience of trying to look for that icebreaker, I realized that okay, my interviewer posts some, he posts some like some week, some weekly newsletters, I will call it, but then it stopped. He hadn't done it for a while, and I thought that was going to be like an icebreaker for me. But when I started that, or when I mentioned it, I realized I wasn't necessarily interested in it. So what I wanted to add to your point was that we should also try to sense if the person is interested in what we are trying to talk about as an icebreaker. Hopefully, the person would be, but if you see that the person is not necessarily in that mood, I think we should try to read from the response. Thank you.
Absolutely on point, Olu, and thanks for bringing that up. That if the person is interested, now, like you rightly said, this might have been, one of those touchy ones, but in general, you want to be able to find something, if you can find something that would be a common ground, and preferably professional, right? Or even if it's like, oh, the person just returned from a conference. Again, as long as that information is on the public domain, then that's fine. Not like you start going to, spy. No, that's not what I'm saying. But at least it just shows that you've also done some due diligence. But I completely agree with what you said, that sense the room, sense the body language. If the person is not interested, you just retract and you move on. Thank you, Olu. Ofonime.
Yeah, thank you very much. Mine is a question that has to do with maintain eye contact to show attentiveness. I'm considering in the situation of a remote interview coupled with cultural difference. Should we keep this as a rule of thumb, or we have to also consider the company? Also, I view it in a way, what if the company is from a culture that accepts maintaining eye contact, but the interviewer, the person that is interviewing you, it's from a culture that do not accept that. So how do we balance this?
My short answer is, if you don't know, you don't know, right? And we can't I would say we are so this is where we are, right? I know some people on this call are in Africa, but I think most of us are in North America and Europe. And I feel like in North America and Europe, I don't think there are cultures where eye contact is deemed as unprofessional, rude, or disrespectful. So I know it's only when you get to some parts of Africa and in Asia that it stands that way. And I can't stay here and say, oh, this is when not, right? But should this be a rule of thumb? I would say near rule of thumb. And if perhaps the person doesn't like eye contact, I don't think the person should be the one interviewing you in the first place, because I don't know. I can't say more than that, to be honest, because I mean, these are what I would regard as best practices. Does it mean there are exceptions and nuances? Absolutely, yes. But you just have to, again, read the room, sense the person, and you act accordingly.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Philip. Philip, you're on mute. Philip? Okay.
Sorry, that was an old one, not the new one.
Oh, that's the old one. Okay, so let's start wrapping up. So call to action here. Does somebody? Okay, that's an old hand. So call to action. So again, if you feel like you need to book an interview prep session, come around. We master common questions. We treat how to answer those common questions and even questions specific to the JD, right? We try to ensure that you are putting your best foot forward. You are being seen and perceived as the right candidate. We also try to get insider insights. Again, the interviewee I had this morning, earlier today, I asked her, who are you interviewing with? And she said she doesn't know. And I said, that's a big no-no. Now, you should ask. It's one thing if they don't tell you. It's another thing for them to say they don't know. No, they can't say they don't know. They will either just say, oh, we can't give you that information. But more often than not, they will give you. Why do you want that? You want to, again, be able to understand the psyche, the kind of knowledge, the persona, the professional capability of the person who is going to be interviewing you, so that you two will be able to, we can start conceptualizing what kind of question will this person ask you, right? Is this person a technical person? Is this person a non-technical person? Again, if they're on LinkedIn anyway, because that's where we usually go to check. So at least, and I say it's like you going to war without knowing your enemy. No war leader does that, right? So that's what we talk about, get insider insight. Again, when you were talking about, tell me about the company or what are the core values, again, about us is very lame. Just going to a company website and go to about, that's very lame. Joe on the street that never went to school would do that. You need to do more, right? Those are the kind of things we look at. And then we're talking about personalized interview coaching. We're looking at your JD. We use your JD to craft questions and plausible responses. And how do you articulate those responses? There's something about what you are saying. There's another thing about how you say it. You need to be able to exude confidence and self-belief, right? Even when you don't fully understand what you are saying, you should still be able to articulate it well. And again, it comes with practice. So that's what we are talking about when you book an interview prep session at MB Consult. Now, Ade, you are here, right? No, so no, not you. Adedayo. Adedayo, are you here? I think you just joined.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm here, sir.
No, Adedayo, I'm going to put you on the spot right now because I've been talking about you and you've not been here. You just joined. So everybody, you can see that. Don't think I was talking to her in the background. I don't even know whether she will be here. So Adedayo, you had an interview prep this morning. Share with the
Yes.
class top 2 things that you took away from that interview prep. Again,
Okay.
I didn't discuss this with you. I didn't even know you were going to come.
Okay. So number one thing I think I take away from the interview prep is personalized question concerning the JD. Well, when I say personalized question, it's not about me, it's about the company itself and what the JD is all about. So we took our time to focus on the JDs one after the other and possible questions that could come out of it and how it's related to the organization.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Next, we need to start wrapping this up. Now, there's this flagship product that we have from MB Consult that I want to quickly talk about, and it's the 90-day personalized mentorship and coaching program. And this is what this entails. And you can feel free to, I may not be able to spend the time now. Time is fast spent. But what do you get with this 90-day personalized coaching without me having to read on the screen? These are the things you get. So it's more like, I call it like we go through a life cycle. So you come in, what are we doing? You are going to be assigned a dedicated mentor or coach, and which we're going to kick off by, we need to understand what's the campus. I mean, I say campus, compass, your career compass. What exactly do you want to do? You know where you are, but where do you want to get to? So career clarity. Then we use that to work on what we call a strategic roadmap. We develop one and we provide guidance for execution. 3, once we get that, then we need to look at your resume. Where is your resume? Is your resume in tandem with where you want to get to? People come to me and they say, Mike, that I'm applying for jobs. I'm not getting interview calls. Nobody's talking to me. And I said, there's something about your resume. We need to fix it. Resume, LinkedIn, they go hand in hand, right? Then hopefully you start getting calls. And then when you get calls, just like Adidayo said, you reach out and then we're able to look into an interview prep session. Then you now have access to pre-recorded interview prep videos. So there are dozens of videos that we've done in the past. Now they have been properly curated and branded for this purpose so that you are getting exactly what you need from those interview prep sessions for different roles. So it becomes like as if you have your Netflix catalog and you're just wondering, what do I want to watch this weekend? So that you don't have to be like someone that will come to me on a Friday or Saturday night and say that, Michael Boy, you have an interview on Monday morning, and I may just have to turn you away because I may not be available, right? So I'm saying that you can have access to these pre-recorded videos of perhaps myself and some of my other partners here. I heard one last week. You heard Philip's voice. You heard Efe's voice, contributing within an interview prep. That's what you get. You get more than your money's worth. Then group sessions, they can all come as a group and we can now say, okay, what are issues that you guys want us to address? And then, like I said, you have access to dedicated mentor and coach. Now, this is going to be in form of a cohort. And what we are looking at is that this cohort is going to have 10 spots available because we want quality, we want value. We're not just going to say, well, 100 people come and join. No, that's not what we are doing here because we want to offer value. Now, what we have done, if you go on the website right now, mbconsult.ca, this is there on the website and is currently priced at $750. But with agreements from my partners, they said that, Mike, if you want people to quickly take advantage of this, we want to kick it off in January. Members of the community will have, first right of refusal. That if they decide to join, they can come in at 500 CAD. Now, at 500 CAD, I'm saying that first 10 slots, I already have 2 people confirmed. And again, like I said, this is going to be time and resources that is at play here. So it's not like as if I'm seriously looking for people, but it's a win-win. It's your career, it's our value. right? Can we collaborate? If you want to secure your seat, email us at info@mbconsult.ca and let us know your interest. Do that. Registration closes 21st of December so that we can get everything set up for a January 1 start. If this is something you are interested in, please send an email to that email address, and then we can hook up with you, connect with you, and set you up. Like I said, you can come around and say you want to do a clarity session. If you go on MB Consult right now, it's $78.75. That's how much you pay. So if you want to look at this is one, this is another session, this is another session, group session, you are not even going to, if you want to get access to pre-recorded videos for a 90-day access, which is also on the website, that's going to cost you $149 just to get access to videos alone for 3 months. You can get access to it for 6 months, which will cost you $200. Access for 1 year, which will cost you $300. But you are getting all of that packaged into a $500 price point. For me, it's a no-brainer. Again, depending. I want to believe that, in the course of the weekly sessions, you would want to agree with me that we are not a fluke. We are here to offer value. Now, everything we do on Saturdays like this is done for free. So you can message me if you're in the community, connect with any of the mentors to say, oh, Mike Boyo, can we talk about this in the coming weeks? I'm open to that. These topics are not like, oh, they have to be these topics. It is what I feel that the community needs. And feel free to message me if you have most likely you are in the community, connect with me. Tell me if there are any topics that you want us to talk about, put it there. That I will do for free. But when it comes to having one-on-one sessions with you, then because we're offering premium value, and like they say, right, when something comes for free, more often than not, it's not valued. But I'm hoping that you are here. I value you, and I hope that you value me as well. So that said, that brings me to the end of this today's session. If there are any comments or questions on this that we can take in just 5 minutes, and we close this call. Thank you very much. Hello. Okay. Thank you. All right then. So I think we bring this to a close, and thank you so much. See you again next week. Like I said, if you have any particular topic you want us to be talking about, message me in the community and we would hopefully look into them. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is it possible for us to have this video be recorded?
Channel after the call, maybe in another hour or two, to be on the YouTube channel.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
While you are
Mike.
there, who is that? Hey, Precious, how are you?
I'm very well, sir. Thank you so much for the session.
You're
As
welcome.
always. Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for joining. Yeah.
Yes, sir.